Many of you probably already know that the next Doom game is supposed to be slightly slower but more destructive than Eternal, and that the story will have a bigger focus on the makers instead of the demons. But did you know that it's apparently supposed to have driving as well? While doing research for last week's video, I stumbled upon an article that not only claims that id Software's next title will allow you to drive vehicles, but it also claims that the next game will be a new IP instead of another Doom or a Quake reboot. The article is not claiming to have any sort of insider information or exclusive leaks, it's just pulling details from new id Software job listings that have popped up recently, so it's thankfully 100% verified information. The first half of the article explains who id Software is and how good their track record has been with Doom, nothing we don't already know. It then starts to speculate on how the next title could possibly be a new entry in the Quake franchise based off of the incredibly successful remasters that have released throughout the past few years, but the article quickly moves past speculation and onto more solid claims. The mystery surrounding id Software's next title may begin clearing up as a recent job posting hones in on the likely genre of the game. Posting on LinkedIn, id Software put up a job posting for a senior weapons and prop artist. Most notably, the role requires the candidate to have worked on and shipped at least one first-person title. It's a bit puzzling as to why id Software is hiring for such a position at seemingly such a late stage. This part of the article is a bit pointless because it's pretty obvious that the game devs known for making FPS games are making another FPS. There was never any doubt about that. They do mention that it's odd that id Software would be hiring for a big role more than 2 years into development, and I do agree with that. You would think that they would already have a senior prop and weapon artist at this stage in development, and the fact that they don't could be a bad sign. Or maybe they already have one and they're just looking for more, who knows. The article finally gets into the more important part of the new job listing, stating, even more importantly, vehicles are also mentioned in id Software's job post. Interestingly, Rage is id Software's only franchise to feature the use of vehicles. While certainly possible, it's highly doubtful that id Software would add vehicles to Doom or even a potential Quake reboot, as such franchises have historically been laser focused on player movement and robust first-person arsenals. That leaves either Rage 3 or an entirely new IP. However, with how poorly received Rage 2 was in 2019, it's difficult to imagine Belauded Studio revisiting the Mad Max-inspired apocalyptic shooter. So, is this it? Is this the solid confirmation that we've been waiting for? Does this finally confirm that id Software isn't working on a new Doom or a new Quake, but something entirely different? No, it doesn't. Listen, I don't necessarily think that the writer did this intentionally, but this article lacks a lot of context that would completely disprove these claims and theories. Luckily, I've done my research so we can get this all sorted out. First off, does the inclusion of vehicles really exclude Doom and Quake as contenders for the next id Software title? While I'm fairly confident that they wouldn't add vehicles to a Doom game, Quake has actually had usable vehicles in the past. Quake 4 features several on-rail sections where you get to use guns that are mounted onto vehicles, and at one point you even get to control a tank. So it wouldn't be entirely unusual to see a vehicle in a Quake reboot that's focused on the Strogg. Since Quake 2 has become really popular after the recent remaster and the Strogg are now liked by fans, another Quake title where you take on the Strogg forces definitely isn't out of the picture. But what if I told you that the job listing the article is based on isn't even really talking about drivable vehicles? The senior weapons and prop artist job listing is looking for someone who can design vehicles, but they seem to be included as an important prop, not as a game mechanic. Doom Eternal actually has several vehicles present throughout the game. You can find destroyed cars and tanks scattered throughout the Earth levels like Hell on Earth and Reclaimed Earth, and you even travel through abandoned subway tunnels filled with old trains. The final battle against Hell on the outer walls of Amora features several Sentinel combat vehicles. You even get shot out of one halfway through the level. And in case that wasn't good enough, the opening portion of Doom Hunter Base takes place on a train that you ride directly into the facility. The job listing is likely referring to the designs of these vehicles and not ones that players will ever actually use. As much as I'm sure we would all love to see the Slayer squashing demons with a monster truck or the Ranger doing donuts around Shamblers, I think the writer saw that vehicles were included in the listing, jumped to the conclusion that they were referencing drivable vehicles, then assumed that id Software is working on a new IP based on the general lack of usable vehicles in Doom and Quake. It's not an unreasonable conclusion to jump to, but a little research and some added context makes it clear that the Doomslayer probably won't be cruising around Hell anytime soon. The article does close with the speculation that id Software is making multiple games at the moment, with the only basis for this being that the job listing wants applicants to join their team in making AAA games. I don't think I even need to explain this one. It's obvious that they're just referencing the fact that applicants would be working on multiple games during their time with id Software, not working on several games at once. Is it possible that they're currently working on multiple games? I mean, yeah, it's definitely possible. Is there a chance that the next Doom and Quake will have driving segments? I mean, it's not likely, but it might happen. Could either Rage 3 or an entirely new IP end up being the next big id Software game? Absolutely, that's always an option, but all of these things are so unlikely that I honestly wouldn't take any of them into consideration. So what can we actually learn from this listing? Well, the fact that they're in need of an important team member suggests that the game either isn't in a solid state right now, or that the game isn't as far along as we previously thought. We know that they started development around the time that Tag 2 launched, but it's entirely possible that things didn't really pick up until Eternals Update 6.66 was released in October of 2021. If the next title ends up being a Quake game based around the original, which is currently the most likely assumption, then we'll know that it'll feature some form of vehicle prop. This isn't something that really fits into the setting of the original Quake, so it introduces the idea that we'll be dimension hopping to never before seen realms, or possibly even interacting with the Strogg. Quake Champions did a great job at finally piecing all the Quake games together in a more cohesive manner. The lore of Champions connects to the original game and Quake 2 pretty well, so it's incredibly likely that they'll build off of that connection even if we get a reboot instead of a continuation. Call of a Machine, the new expansion included in the Quake 2 remaster, further connects Quake and Quake 2, so they're actively encouraging the idea of a full connection between the two settings. The weapon and prop artist listing, as well as several other recent listings, mention developing assets for next-gen games, so it's pretty much confirmed that their next game will be a next-gen exclusive, and possibly even an Xbox exclusive. I'm not so sure that they would make a Doom game Xbox exclusive due to the fact that Doom has always been on everything it possibly can be, but I can absolutely see a new Quake game being withheld from Nintendo and PlayStation platforms. Aside from Quake Champions and the recent remasters, the last full Quake release was almost 2 decades ago in October of 2005, so it wouldn't be surprising if they brought Quake back as an Xbox and PC exclusive. It's kinda sad to say, but Doom Eternal may be the last id Software game that gets a widespread release, only time will tell though. While we currently don't know a whole lot about the next id Software game, we do know that Doom Eternal is still getting updates once in a blue moon. You can watch the video that's on screen now to learn about Doom Eternal's first update of 2023, you definitely want to hear about this. Thank you all so much for watching today's video, I hope you enjoyed it. That's pretty much all I have for now though. Until next time.